Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text number 18. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Please chant. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Urdhvam gachanti sattavastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vritistha adho gachanti tamasa. Urdhvam, upwards, gachanti, go, sattvastha, those situated in the mode of goodness, madhye, in the middle, tishtanti, dwell, rajasa, those situated in the mode of passion, jaganya, of abominable, guna, quality, vritistha, whose occupation, adha, down, gachanti, go, tamasa, persons in the mode of ignorance. Translation: those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Please repeat. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish planets. Go down to the hellish worlds. So in this particular verse, first of all, the chapter is dealing with three modes of material nature. In this particular verse, it is also describing three different destinations according to those modes. We live in a time when everyone feels that they are free to believe whatever they like. I mean, they some or other assume that this world we live in allows this kind of freedom to imagine whatever idea that may come to your head. Mostly the ideas are very atheistic, and if they're at all different from atheism, then it's some kind of concoction, some kind of false idea. So my point was, this verse is significant in that it specifies that the destination is of three kinds: upward, middle, or down. Urdhva, Madhya, and Adha. So then this verse is highlighting what determines whether you go upward, you remain in the middle, or you go down. There is a factor that determines. So the factor is not what you believe. The factor is these particular modes of nature. It's very scientific. Scientific in the sense that it is a very consistent body of knowledge on which you can understand and reality. It is a full and clear explanation of reality. Sometimes not just people outside, but even a devotee can be confused. He can become confused because this is the condition of when you are affected by some sentiment, some attachment. I'll give you an example. Arjuna was such a person. Arjuna was not illiterate of Vedic knowledge, but his confusion because of his confusion, Krishna has to enlighten him about the facts of life. Generally in the material world, when you mention the facts of life, it is always to do with sex life. But here, the facts of life are much, much more involved. There is a lot more to life than sex life. And this detail is significant because one of the difficulties Arjuna was having, he uses the word samuda cheta. My mind is bewildered. Hands up if your mind is ever bewildered? Do you know what bewildered mind means? Well, let's say you're confused. You're not sure what to do. Hands up if you're ever confused. You're not putting your hands up? One, I want to see. 1, 2. Ever confused? Are you ever? Okay. So then put your hands up. Are you ever confused? Hands up. Put your hand up. Yeah. Okay, good. So we have a consensus now. I do this purposely because if I don't get participation, then you'll not know what the class was about. So Arjuna was confused. So the basis of confusion is you become bewildered. You forget some basic points of knowledge, right? I'll give you an example. You're trying to go to Delhi, right? So there is NH2 or Yamuna Expressway. But by the time you get to Chatikara, if you become confused, where are you going? You don't know whether I should go left or right. You understand? So Arjuna is confused. Krishna thinks Arjuna needs to understand the topic of the 3 modes of nature. Krishna is saying that you should not be confused. Krishna is saying we should not be confused. And we will not be confused if we are clear about certain facts of life. And the fact of life is that there are modes of nature that govern, in this particular verse, that govern where we will go. It is not chance, it is not accident. There is a cause and effect. There is a link. And it is in our hand. We determine where we will go. It is not luck. You see. Now we will proceed with the purport. I just wanted to highlight this simple point of the verse, that there are 3 kinds of destinations: upwards, middle, and lower, downwards. Purport. In this verse, the results of actions in the 3 modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of the heavenly planets where everyone is highly elevated. So Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that there is a higher realm, and that realm, everyone is highly elevated. He goes on to explain more. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in this system. The highest planet is Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka. But the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. So this is the first part. There is a higher planetary system, and the particular realm we attain is dependent on the degree of the development of the mode of goodness. To that extent, we reach that realm. Now Prabhupada goes on to the second part. The mode of passion is mixed. It is in the middle. So the word in Sanskrit was madhye, madhya tishtanti. It is in the middle between the mode of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. So, if you stay in the mode of passion, you can expect to continue to live the kind of life you're experiencing now, with the margin of having a slightly higher quality or a slightly lower quality, a king or a pauper. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth, in the mode of passion or ignorance, cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. So here's the other interesting point. You cannot, by a mechanical arrangement, go from one planetary system to another, because it requires you to have that mode of nature. Your mode of nature is your qualification. Even in this earth, we see that not everyone can go to university for every course. You have to have the right qualification for that university, for that course. Otherwise, you're denied entry. So, this is a simple thing. So this is how the universe is structured. Actually, even if you think, okay, my machine is so good, I can go. But think about this. On this earth, there are other realms aside from the realm on land. There is a realm in the sea, in the water. And you cannot forcibly live like a fish in the water unless you become a fish. You must always come back to land because you're a land animal. You see, this is how your modes of nature, they bind you. You cannot escape them. You can do plastic surgery, but you cannot still become a fish. Even if by plastic surgery they turn your body into a fish, you will not be able to live like a fish. You can imagine a human who has been turned into a fish, but he cannot live as a fish. This is how powerful the modes of nature are. So, Prabhupada is saying that you cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. The lowest quality, the mode of ignorance, is described here as abominable. The word abominable in Sanskrit is jaganya. Jaganya. Jaganya means very low, very bad. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. I want to spend a few moments to explain this point about very, very risky. Many people think, well, drinking is mode of ignorance, drinking, alcohol, drugs. I'm okay. I took some alcohol. Nothing's happened to me. I feel good. I actually feel good. You know, I was not feeling so good, but now I had a drink. I'm fine. Now I had some drugs. I'm good. This point about very risky, let Srila Prabhupada say the rest of it is the lowest quality in material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life. Birds. So you see, Prabhupada first described the heavenly planets. Then the life on earth. Either you become a king, a poor man, like that. Or you could even be mad. Now he's describing this very risky, this jaganya, very bad. And so this very bad is defined by these 8 million species of life, other than human. There's a lot of species of life. Birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. So this is what's abominable, is a species of life other than human. Now again, people say, well, I have a dog. He lives a very good life. My life is worse than my dog. So we'll come back to that. The word tamasa is very significant here. Tamasa indicates those who stay continually in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark. So this is the key point. You are in a kind of everlasting darkness. It is not funny anymore. Like in the West, they have this proclivity, this tendency to enjoy comedy or entertainment. So part of this entertainment is to play jokes. So a joke is, for example, all of a sudden everything goes dark. And everyone laughs, oh, this is funny. We don't know, you can't see, where is everybody? But if the darkness is there for 10 days, it's not funny. If the darkness is there for a year, it has ceased to be funny a long time ago. Now you are in danger. Now you do not know. You are going mad. You cannot alleviate the darkness. That is very, very risky. That is the jaganya vrittistha. Now, I want to finish this, but I want to pick up on the word vritti afterwards. In case I get digressed, you can remind me. There is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness. And that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this determining of your mode is your vritti, is your occupation, is your activity, is your engagement. That is the determining factor. It's very profound. Everything we do, indeed everything we choose not to do, has a consequence. So now, a little joke is not a joke because there is a consequence to everything. So it is good if you do not have too much of a tendency for joking, because you may just get yourself into trouble. And the trouble is the lower species of life. It is very, very easy to become a lower species. Therefore, one has to be very careful. If you are careful, you will be very careful about what you are doing. Because what you're doing is determining urdhva gachanti, madhya tishtanti, or adho gachanti. What you do. And what you do is in terms of the Bhagavad Gita, not in terms of I do not harm anybody. I'll give you an example. Well, let me ask you. Why shall I give you an example? Tell me, if somebody says, I didn't hurt anybody, why is that not good enough to put you in the mode of goodness and allow you to go to heavenly planets? I want to hear from you. Why is that not good enough? Please think. It's an example that's given by Prabhupada all the time. First of all, any hands coming up so far? Just, you're not going to be asked to speak, but okay, one hand. Any more? Two. Okay. So everyone's looking a little confused. Let's see if I can help you without giving the answer away. Can you make the law of which side of the road to drive, even if you don't hurt anybody? Can you? I'm asking you. Yes or no? You can. No, you can't. No, you can't. You cannot sit at home and say, I will drive on Yamuna Expressway on the right hand side, but I won't hurt anybody. Is that allowed? Yes or no? No. Thank you. Sometimes, if I'm not understood, you might give the wrong answer. Okay, so everyone agrees that's not allowed. Why is that? Why is that? Because you didn't hurt anybody. But why is it wrong? Now tell me. Now put your hands up if you know. Why is that? Huh? What is the rules made by the state? So, this is the point. This mode of goodness is determined by the Bhagavad Gita, not by you. You see? If you are slaughtering the cow, but you are feeding the poor, you're not in the mode of goodness. But there are many people today who are slaughtering the cow, feeding the poor. What do you think they're thinking? Do you think they're thinking, I'm going to go to hell or to heaven? What do you think? They're thinking they're going to go heaven. But according to Bhagavad Gita, it's very dangerous, very risky, only because they do not understand the consequences of their vritti, of their engagement. It is not enough to measure your engagement by some charity. Your engagement is measured by your livelihood. What you do in order to live. If that is not sanctioned, you are now in the mode of ignorance. Do you understand? Some people think they are buying and selling things the people want. They call themselves businessmen. But if you are buying and selling drugs, according to Bhagavad Gita, you are not a businessman. You are engaging in tamasa, mode of ignorance. And the result of that is adho gachanti. You go down. So this is the education Krishna is imparting to Arjuna. My dear Arjuna, you are bewildered because you are overlooking this knowledge. How this system is working. It is no good protesting. I mean well. I didn't mean this. I meant the measure of going up to heaven or down to the lower species is not by what you meant or what was your sentiment, your feeling, but what you did. Vritti stha. It is measured. You see that word is there. Vritti. Jaganya guna vritti stha. Whose occupation? The occupation of a person is who goes to downward. His occupation is jaganya, very bad. So that means the person who goes upwards, his occupation is very pure, very good, as given in the Bhagavad Gita. Now I can elaborate more on this, but I'm thinking if you have any questions, that would be part of the lecture. Like, for example, do you understand what category your activities are? Do you understand? In other words, you should ask yourself, if what I do with my senses, my body, my mind, from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep, which category is it? Is it goodness, passion, or ignorance? Are you clear? And if you're not, this is a good opportunity to find out. But my question to you is, do you know? Do you know which category you're in? You had a question or? Yeah, the categorization of, according to this verse, is not whether you're a woman, but as a woman you can be engaged in vritti, occupation, which is mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Now let me explain. If you have intense attachment and desire, it's mode of passion. The same, in other words, externally it's the same, apparently. A bit like Diti, she wanted to have a child with Kashyapa, but she was, the offspring was because of her state of mind, the time of day, her intention. Now, a person who has a wonderful child, a pure devotee, is also engaging in sex, but different desire, different intention. Totally. Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to Krishna. So it is, all these things are determining factors. It's not that a woman has to do a man's job in order to.
What I was thinking of was that, like Prabhupada describes, like arts and crafts as being Sudra occupations, and nevertheless they're the appropriate engagements in general for a woman.
Yes.
So if we engage in that, that's
No, but I think there's a little confusion. The real how you say, description of a woman's occupation is assistance to the husband. That's the real defining assistance to the husband. That's the real determining. So that can take all kinds of forms. That can take all kinds of forms. In that capacity of an assistant, she may well be a teacher to the husband's students too, a mother. She's called Guru Mata. You know, there's all kinds of, it's very wide. It's not reduced down to one little, item of manual labor. I'll give an interesting example of a Shudra, is Vidura. Now really, you see, that's a Shudra, meaning he's an assistant. But in the capacity of an assistant, he was actually very capable, talented person. The most capable, talented person. There's a book called Vidura Niti. In other words, he's the authority on it. And that's a Shudra. But the categorization of Shudra is not as in low, as much as he's an assistant to the king. That's the point. So it's almost like saying an assistant professor. Nobody says that's a low job. Do you know what I mean? If you're, assistant to the prime minister, it's not. These are all very elevated, high posts. But the Vedic understanding of that categorization is being an assistant rather than the person with the responsibility.
So it doesn't necessarily mean mode of ignorance?
No, it doesn't. In fact, a Brahmani is a very, this is where I think a lot of devotees do get a little confused, because there's this preconceived idea of a Shudra and a woman's Varna as in not requiring any intelligence or initiative even. There is, but it is always subordinate. That's the point. It's a simple point of subordinate to someone. That's true for the Shudra and the woman. But there is no, it's not necessarily a demeaning position.
It's also the appropriate role for a devotee.
Actually, it's a very, very conducive. It's very compatible, because a devotee is trying to inculcate dasa, dasa, anudas. And these persons who are doing Shudra or woman work nicely, it's very easy for them to, rather than a person who is a Kshatriya who thinks he's, someone's, very difficult for him to cultivate the idea I'm a servant also. So actually different, yeah. Any other? You have to ask yourself, because you see, whatever you're doing during the day is going to determine your next destination. And your activities, your vritti, your occupation is the determining factor. You understand occupation, what you do. Simply put, what do you do? From the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, what do you do? That activity determines. You could become a lower species. Now remember, Bharat Maharaj, very elevated platform of devotion, devotional service. What he did during the day, crucially at the time of his death, was being completely attached to a deer. So that's what he did. So therefore, adho gacchant. He went down. It's no point saying, I'm Bharat, I'm the emperor of the world, I'm this, and it's what you do. And now this is where I wanted to finish. but you're not very, interacting. But it's not what you do with your body, it's what you do with your mind. It's what you do with your mind. That is the essence. It's what you do with your mind. And therefore you're going to find, because of this reason, that chapter 18, text 65 is very important. Man mana. Your mind, think of me. That's why by the time we reach that, we sometimes forget the significance of that. That is the most significant point of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Because everything is dependent on what you did with your mind. What were your thoughts? What were your feelings? And what were your actions based on those thoughts and feelings? Thinking, feeling, willing. So this is where Krishna is saying, well, your thinking, feeling, willing, your vritti, your occupation, is going to determine whether you go up, earth, or down. Down means this lower species of life. So, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhu, for such a nice class. I have one question. Like, in another quote, Krishna says that it's better to do your duties, even there is some fault, like there's some smoke in the fire. So after doing that, it purifies. But I doubt regarding this. In this, Krishna is saying that according to the duties, you may elevate it or you get fall down from your current position, or they stay on that position. Like somebody is a tree cutter, and for a home building, his duty is to cut trees. So he is doing his prescribed duties for his work, for his earning and for his livelihood. So at that time, what way we have to think? Is doing okay, or he should leave his job?
You see, this is where confusions start to come up. Somebody starts with Bhagavad Gita saying, Krishna says, perform your duty even if there is some fault in it, just like fire with smoke. And then he says he's a tree cutter. Tree cutter is not the duty Krishna is referring to. You're giving an example of a job, but job is not what Krishna is referring to. Krishna is referring to one of these four categories. Let me try to help you understand these four categories. Is a Shudra a tree cutter? Is a Vaishya a tree cutter? Is a Kshatriya tree cutter? Is a Brahmana tree cutter? All four can be. All four can be. You see? So, but none of them are supposed to do only tree cutting. This is the fault of the modern world, that all day, every day, a person keeps on doing one thing only. Cutting trees, cutting trees, cutting trees, cutting trees. That is not called occupation of Varna Ashram. That is some kind of madness. See, when a Vaishya cuts a tree, it's in order to replant. He will cut a tree, he will plant, he will do this, everything within the Vaishya. A Shudra, he will cut a tree if he needs to cut a tree to make a handicraft, but not keep on cutting trees. So this sense we have, like nowadays somebody says, well, I'm a computer programmer. It's not a Varna. Computer programmer is not a Varna. It is a madness that every day you're doing the same thing. He is doing it for a meat factory, he is doing it for a pharmaceutical company, he is doing it for the airplane. he doesn't know what his programming is going to be used for. He doesn't know if it's going to be used for criminal. I met a devotee here in Vrindavan, ex-programmer. He later on found out he was being employed by a crook in Argentina. He had flown all the way from here to Argentina to work for a crook. And he thought, I've landed a good job. And his programming, he later on found out that what am I programming? The person, his boss, was a thief. So, is that an occupation? Is that a varna? I'm asking you.
I think more than Vedic stories in Vedic stories, like sometimes when we read, there was some woodcutter person, he was going in forest, he's cutting the trees.
Yeah, yeah, right, okay. But you see, now we have wood cutting at a different scale. They're cutting wood to the extent of a whole country is being demolished every month. A whole country. That much wood. This woodcutter, he could only cut wood that he could carry. Do you know how much wood that is? It requires no cutting of wood. Just picking up the wood is enough. You cannot carry more than. I mean, you know, wood is actually heavy. You cannot carry much wood. That's all he could carry. That's what he would. If he had a donkey, he'd have a little more, but that's it. Now you're cutting down trees the size of a country every month. Wiped out. It's not tree cutting. This is madness. You can't find a tree in Vrindavan. It's rare. The cows is so hot, they're looking for shade. So there is no shade. There's no shade. Have you seen? If you go to the Goshala, there's only one, because they plant a tree, the monkeys come, they eat it, there's no tree. I'm just trying to explain to you that this concept of varna was not the one we have in our mind today. We are not in varna. Where what is called later on, 2 chapters away, is called ugra karma. Horrible word. It's not karma. You carry on doing this ugra karma, you will go adav gachanti. You will go down. Is that good? Clear? Good. Mataji, you had a point? I'm sorry? Oh, covered it. Okay. Oh, Mataji, please. You might need clicking, yeah.
Just like to make a little comment. Prabhupada says that disease starts in the mind.
I'm sorry? Disease.
Starts in the mind.
In the mind.
Yeah, so when we, and our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. So, as devotees, we've been given this opportunity, this education, that we can turn our lives around and go upwards, instead of just staying in the dark and round and round and going down. So we're very fortunate.
That was Srila Prabhupada's last point here, that there is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness.
Yes. And we call this Krishna consciousness program the positive alternative.
Right, good.
And the poor monkeys, I was here in 77, and it was a forest. And
Yes.
the monkeys had trees to run about in and jump and whatnot,
Yeah.
and there was no problem.
No, not blaming them, but I'm just saying that now we find ourselves in a situation
Yeah.
as a result of these foolish activities back then,
Yeah.
thoughtless activities. Basically, you could say everyone was a monkey, men who acted like monkeys, I mean, thoughtlessly. And now we're also suffering. There's no shade. There's no shade to be had. Can you pass?
We're worried about the monkeys. The monkeys do very well for themselves. What about all the peacocks? And the
They've
parrots?
gone. They've gone. Yeah.
I mean, I used to have peacocks come to my house, but the surrounding properties have removed their trees. I have still a couple of trees, and there's some trees in back of them. I still hardly ever see a peacock. The parrots have started coming back once or twice a day, but they've lost their homes. And the monkeys reproduce even faster than any of those other creatures. So the whole balance of nature is completely off tilted. It's off tilt.
Anyway, it's didn't want to finish on that note, but the idea is we can make our destination a good one if we adopt the right activities of Krishna consciousness.
I have planted many of those amatras trees that look like yellow flowing hair. And if anyone knows anyone with gardens, I can give them some baby amatras. They can take care of them nicely. And some baby dale trees. Next to me, they cut down so many trees just to build one building. Fruit and flower bearing trees. And then in front of me also, many fruit and flower bearing trees.
Anyway.
And all the birds were just going crazy. They didn't know where to go. The monkeys figured it out. They travel in communities. So the birds, they require trees to live. Monkeys can live anywhere. They like living in trees, but they can live anywhere.
I didn't want to promote the cause of the monkeys today, but
Anyway, as far as the Bhagavata's question goes, as far as your question goes, it's a matter of one's duty. One's duty is to become Krishna conscious. How you get there depends on your association. Of course, you have to follow the regular principles, but how you get there is by following the four regular principles, taking association with devotees. Yes, you may have to do some kind of job to support your family, but it has to be done in such a way that you're not performing over karma, and your consciousness remains pure. All the Prabhupada described, Bhakti will always tell a little white lie. It's his duty.
yeah, but not the lie where it's actually ugra karma. That's just in his business of profiting. Prabhuji wants to.
Hare Krishna. During our discussions, these questions arise to me. Practical experience. According to this is my devotee's comment about me. I left my village, my parents, because I heard only one word from His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj from Coimbatore ISKCON. Devotees who serve to Krishna, to please him, he is so glorious. Apart from his own sanskar tradition, he served to Krishna and his devotees. His life is glorious. came to Vrindavan somehow, devotees comments me, you don't have knowledge. According to Shastra, you must serve your parents. This is mode of ignorance. They said clearly, I am the mode of ignorance. Here, mode of ignorance, the devotees, or mode of ignorance me, or mode of ignorance my parents?
You're asking me now?
Yes.
I will speak on behalf of Prabhupada. Okay. I respect all the people you've referred to, His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Swami and devotees around you in Vrindavan. But I can only present what Prabhupada, I feel, would say. He would urge us to become sincere devotees of Krishna, not pretentious. He would urge us, by doing that, we will fulfill all our obligations to my family, to my village, to my country, if I become a very sincere servant of Lord Krishna, fully surrendered. This is what Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinam nayam kinkaro rini charajan sarvatma ya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariritya kartam. One who surrenders fully to Lord Mukunda, he owes no obligation to Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta, Nrinam. You fulfill all those, but you have to learn how to serve Krishna nicely, sincerely. It is not a neglect of duty if you surrender to Krishna. Otherwise, yes, mode of ignorance, all that accusation. But Srila Prabhupada was genuinely promoting the cause of becoming a devotee of Krishna. And this movement is designed to help a person become a devotee of Krishna, sincerely. You have to understand some quality about Krishna. You may or may not be able to serve your parents, but Krishna, he controls the entire universe, the laws of the universe. He can look after your parents like you cannot. You cannot. So this is actually true. But we have to be genuine devotees of Krishna. Is that okay? I think that's not wrong. So everyone can hear. Next verse describes.
Actually, I only found the 1 and 3. I found Yemen those persons who execute the rules according to my injunctions and follow these teachings faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Fruitive actions includes, what you think we're supposed to be doing as you do. Taking care of parents. And then the next verse, but those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them are considered bereft of all knowledge, be fooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. But I don't know who told you that the banning of parents is the most ignorance. Is that what they said to you?
Yeah, it's.
Those people need to be found correct.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. It's in the purport to in the second chapter, chapter 2. It's from the 11th canto of the Bhagavad Gita.